Hey there, Workforce. Chris here.
Brian here.
And today, let's talk about the price of games.
Should they be higher, lower, or free? You decide. Let's discuss.
So when I was a kid, it took a certain number of weeks to save up for a game. And honestly, games were, I remember like $35 or something like that was a pricey game. N64, I don't know.
As a kid, like $5 was like,
a lot.
It was a lot of money.
And so when games hit $60, I remember the outrage. I remember that was some line in the sand. It was like Xbox, I think.
$60. Well, Xbox played, like it was like a particular generational
there was
shift.
A generational shift. And what's crazy is 10, 15 years have gone by, and they are still $60.
Yeah. What's one point to think about though is that like this was kind of the big argument to go to discs back in the day. So Nintendo was on cartridges.
Yep.
And some of their games were actually more than $60. Like I remember, like there was a game it was like $75. Well, because the price of the cart and the media ended up being so high. Ironically, physical-based media has gotten so much cheaper than you saw with the Switch.
I mean, flash drives are basically free now.
Yeah,
for
you could get
companies.
for like $40. You can get like 256 gigs on a mini SD, micro SD, and then you can put that in your Switch. And it's like so the price of that media has completely shifted back from a cheap perspective. And so
Switch, it's not the software that's costing
it's you. The software.
It's the game designer's time that is valuable.
And rightfully so. And so what we've seen is that I remember that day too. I remember that shift. It was like $60, and everybody. I mean, there was. You're right.
I'll never buy games again.
Oh, never.
Now they're going to be $100. It turns out no. They're just going to stay $60.
Well, are they $100? I think they are.
That is where they're getting to be. Especially with subscriptions, with DLC, with monetization, and so I think a lot of people are quick to say, "I love this game. It should be free to play."
Yeah,
it should be.
Free to play in and of itself, and we'll dive into that in a minute. But to point out, and one of the things the reason why I don't think games are $60 anymore, I just think we assume they are. I have not bought a $60 game in a long time. I bought, Titanfall, extra DLC, all pack, bundled in, $99, $100. Destiny 2 got the expansion pass, the collector, whatever, $99. You look at these games.
I paid $60 for Titanfall.
Okay, you paid $60 for
That's it. I was done.
Well, right, and that's your choice.
Not a dime it's actually to him since then.
It's nice that they give you that option, personally, but I think at the end of the day,
won't.
Well, yeah, when it updates. But even with other games like Batman, like all of these games that are coming out now have a kind of like it's almost like here's your starter price. I can get you into this house.
Yeah.
At this price to start, and then later we're going to say,
I mean, if this is your first Zelda game, I can get you started at the low price of $59.99.
It's kind of like the first hit's free, right?
But if this is not your first go round and you like Zelda, let me show you back here where we have the good stuff
with the stuff that you want, the collectible medallions and all that.
So I think there's a real debate here of should games be more, and I think you talk about it being a hardware thing. Well, the thing about hardware is always getting cheaper. Mm-hmm. As technology increases, hardware always gets cheaper, and so if you're ever considering going into like sales, my family a ton of them are in their sales, and they all say don't sell a physical good because it will inevitably lose value. Next year you'll have to sell 3 times as many to make the same money. Sell a service because service adjusts because you're selling people's time, and people's time continues to go up as wages increase.
And so like games like Final Fantasy.
That's what games are now. Games are software.
You look at Final Fantasy, you have a license, it's a service-based game. Other
so
games,
revenue will scale.
It was interesting though, like we saw a huge like rush on like MMOs for a while, and since then we've kind of seen that like it's kind of settled down. There isn't like a new MMO coming out every 6 months. And then it's like, well, here's the 10 MMOs this year, right?
Sure.
It's because the market saturation, most of those had to go to a free-to-play model to try to get users in and then to get users to spend money. And I said this like in my Pokemon Go video. We were talking about microtransactions with Destiny 2. I don't spend extra money. Like I will buy the DLC. I'll buy like the expansion pass. But I won't go and be nickeled. I just don't spend. I do not give them.
Somebody does.
Yeah, somebody does.
They wouldn't do it otherwise.
Right. There's definitely a market for it, but I don't like that. I don't personally like that market, so I don't support it. I don't buy any add-ons to Final Fantasy 14. I don't go buy Fantasia potions. I don't go buy dies. I'm like, okay, that's.
You do own a Moogle.
That was gifted.
Okay.
But from that perspective, I look at the $60 game, and I don't look at it as a $60 game. I look at it as an introduction, like you said. And then I look at games, and I honestly...
MMOs have subscriptions. What about Zelda? What if we just talk about general, single-player, one-time experiences?
They have the DLC now. They've got all that add-ons. And the weird thing was they announced that after they announced the game. And
which I thought was odd, because they could have put it in a bundle.
They could have bundled it, and I would have bought that.
Yep.
And
I haven't bought the DLC yet.
Because they kept it separate, I actually went and said, so they did the same thing for Final Fantasy 15. I went and I was like, I'll digital pre-order it. And I was like, they did not announce some kind of digital collector's edition, and I went ahead and pre-ordered it, and then 2 months later, it was a distance of time, they were like, and there's going to be a digital expansion collector's edition for more. And I'm like, I've already bought that version. And I've been waiting for the, I was like, I plan on playing the DLC because I'm a fan. Just like with Zelda,
sure.
Once I beat it, I'll pick it up. But now, I'm not in a rush, but I would have bought it at the start just to have it as a part of the bundle to maybe save that $5.
And maybe I never even get there, and they get my money anyway.
And so that's where I honestly think from the development costs, you look at these games and they've only got more expensive to make. Man hours are way more. We expect way more of these games. You go look at a game from the 80s and the 90s and even the early 2000s.
That we are more than willing to say, that was the greatest game ever.
You're like,
go back and play it. Go back and play Cruisin' USA.
Yeah.
It's awful.
For 90 hours.
It's awful.
Put in half of the time you put in Destiny 1, Brian,
and
into Cruisin' USA.
Fist fights for turns at this game to play it for hours on end.
$60.
It'll take you 30 minutes to be tired of it now.
60 for that. It's still 60, but for a game that you're going to get potentially thousands of hours of entertainment out of. I look at Destiny
I want them to take the time and why isn't my game 4K? Why isn't 1080p's junk? Mm-hmm. Why are the load times so long? Why didn't they whatever those software guys do to optimize it so that I don't have load screens?
just type on the keyboard.
They're just being lazy.
They didn't do this with the keyboard unless I have to wait.
And now I have to wait. This is awful.
Why can't I customize my character to the nth degree and color each individual armor piece?
I should scan my face in. Yeah.
I think
we are very demanding as gamers.
They are. And Yoshi P did a talk about this, in talking about here's an MMO, and he put up a slide of all the features that people expect to be in an MMO, and it's you can't do this for launching a game. You have to bring it in over time because this is impossible, and it's you want all of this and more, and it's we know we want to get there, and so it's a matter of getting there over time. So a subscription-based game is something different, like a service-based game, but even standalone games, they're way more in depth visually. The amount of the teamwork and the effort that has to go into making them, and that's why for the longest time I don't think a video game costs $60. I think a video game costs $100. We have just not, so we pay it, and people wouldn't be doing it if they were, weren't buying it. But the risk that I see here, and as it shifts into it, is that, like I said, all of a sudden we're now, it's $100, and now they're and the expansion pass is now $140. It does give them leeway to continue to push that ball further.
So how much will we pay? So on one hand, games are bigger than they've ever been. There's more people playing them. So as an industry, they're bringing in more revenue than they've ever brought in before, even if you adjust for inflation. Right. Just as an industry,
it's more about cost.
There's also more developers.
Mm-hmm. It's about cost and it's about risk, and that's one of the things that I don't think is often brought up in this conversation. Is that as a company, they're spending the money before. It's not outside of Kickstarter and things like that, where you can kind of get some fan funding that shows up on your door day one. Then you go to work. The company's making that money, and especially on an entertainment product that could be successful or not, you're investing a huge amount of money and then hoping that your return on that would be much later. And the more that return can be projected, the more that a company is usually willing to invest. And that means more features, more this, more that.
So how is that different than the movie industry? So the movie industry's prices have slowly increased since I was a kid, to the point where it hurts to go out to more than one movie a month with my wife.
Netflix, man.
Right. So what? But Netflix doesn't have access to the current blockbusters.
Yeah.
And so their prices have continued to increase because their cost of doing so has continued to increase. Games have continued to get more expensive to produce,
but their cost has not scaled.
Their cost has not scaled nearly to the rate that it costs to make them.
And again,
now thankfully they have not finished saturating the market. So movies were already being watched by everybody when I was a kid because they weren't new. And when games, I mean, it's still a relatively young industry, and so there are still parts of the world where gaming is not the dominant culture.
Right. One of the things I would like to bring in, just as a kind of a food for thought perspective, though, is that when you look at used games, the used game market, or even games after a period of 6 months, they see a reduction in price really rapidly. And with digital distribution and being able to be competitive in that, gives games a lot longer life than they used to have. The model used to be make all your money up front.
Yes.
And then you might make some sales later. But that being the fact, is like when we... The point in the question we're asking is, what is the price of games? And the game at start is this, and then the game 6 months later is actually usually less than, which in my mind would be the true price of that game. Right, because if you look at like Final Fantasy XIV's, housing district, the price starts at $70 million, and then if you wait 6 months, it's going to be at $7, and it's not going to drop any lower.
Yeah, but you're not going to get your choice house.
You're not going to get your choice.
Right. So if I want to play Zelda unspoiled,
you pay a premium.
I pay a premium,
and so and the reason I bring that up is that I argue that games are $100, and then they scale down from there because that's what I'm willing to invest.
That must be why you. See, that explains a lot about his
Explains
wife
everything
approval
about me.
process versus my wife approval process. Because I tell my wife a game is going to be $60, because that's what I have in the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go off to buy a game, and then I'm always like, I need DLC. And she's like, well, you said you already got the game. So I get approval to get into the base games a lot more often than Brian.
Right, and I buy a lot less games. I do, because I buy a lot less games.
Because he's going in with a higher price.
I think it's the higher price and the fact that I go in digitally, meaning I'm committing that I'm not planning on reselling this game later, and so I am very selective in my games, thoroughly researched, all of that, because I love the convenience of shifting game A to game B without having to mess with discs.
That's not to say we don't both have a pile of shame, but... There's always going to be a set of games that you never
literally beat. One of the things that I want to do, I haven't figured out how to do it, but to do a stream, welcome to my pile of shame. We're going to work game to game to game, and then I'm going to get
24-hour stream once a week.
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought that's what you said. So
not confirmed. No. So you're talking about wife approval process. Julie's going to be like, Brian.
It's Monday.
It's Monday. Go to bed.
If the calendar says Monday, I'm playing games. So I think the issue comes down to what is too much, and at what pace can they deliver new features and justify raising the cost. So if right now you really feel that games are generally $100, what are they going to have to give us where games are eventually $150? Or are they just going to have to wait for inflation to get there?
Inflation's going to have effect.
That's only 3% annually.
Right. And so, then you look at the course, 3% annually the last 10, 15 years. Like at some point, they're going to have to make an adjustment.
Yeah, we're behind pace.
We're going to at some point, we're going to see games go to 70, but it's got to be across the board. Otherwise, everybody loses. And that's the industry saying, what's our MSRP for our base game? And Nintendo is still going to be like a generation behind because they're going to be doing their own thing.
And as the gap gets a little harder to see between consoles, where you have like 3 different kinds of Xboxes live at the same time.
Yeah.
That gets harder to do because one of the benefits of a rollout like PS4 to PS5, we're now on PS5, and PS5 games are $75. Mm-hmm. So it's very easy to draw that line in the sand. I don't know how you do it. As games become computers, and they get marketed as such.
I feel for them. It's definitely an interesting issue. And with that, I'd love to know your thoughts out there. Let us know in the comments below. Let us know
how much are you willing to pay for a game.
Yeah, what is your price? What is your breaking point?
And how much can they keep breaking out of you later? If you pay up front, are you still willing to give them $15 every 6 months, every 3 months? Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. That's the model you enjoy. Then awesome. But it's like, if you look at the overall cost lifetime of a game, like,
right,
what do
you have
think?
single-player games versus MMO games. MMO games, I understand they're subscription-based. They're going to continually release content. But a single-player game, I feel very differently when I pay for it.
Yeah. You feel a sense of ownership.
I do.
It's like, okay, this is a complete package. Just like a book.
Yes.
It's like if the author was continually releasing chapters to the book, then it's like, yes, buy my additional chapters.
Right. So me and my friends are going to go and they're going to read new chapters that have never existed. I'll pay the author over and over.
Mm-hmm. So, again, let us know your thoughts. Let's have that conversation. And, that's pretty much... those are my thoughts, unless you have any...
No, that's it. We look forward to hearing from you. This has been Chris.
And Brian.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Take care. Hey guys, it's me. Thanks so much for watching this video, and we hope to see you on our next.
Is there anywhere you think they could see us in the meantime?
Well, right now you probably can catch us out on Twitch. We usually stream quite a lot. So the link is in the description below for our Twitch page. And if you guys want to support us and you like what we do here on YouTube, you can actually support us for free by using your Twitch Prime sub if you're Amazon Prime.